好同志们，我们都在轰轰烈烈的站起来，站起来。Welcome, one and all, to the 246th edition of China Now with your gang of two, Nan Su Michael Olson. Pleased to be with you today. Nan Su is the senior investigative reporter for Epoch Times, and I am a person who once dreamed in Chinese of going there, to live there, to build a whole new nation, but who was dissuaded from doing so by the great helmsman himself, Mao Zedong. 谢谢你, Mao. Each week, Nan Su and I look out across the broad expanse of the Pacific Ocean from our home port here at SantaCruzVoice.com, and we ask, China now, friend or foe, war or peace? 你好, Nan Su.
Hey, good morning, Michael. Oh, good afternoon.
Whatever it happens to be. There you go.
Where are you? Depending,
Where you're at in the world, right? Exactly. Well, we have a lot of stories. Let's run through the first hour so people get a taste of what's coming here. I have a story about, it's titled Broken by Design, Why the CCP Always Breaks Its Deals. And you have one?
Yeah, well, EU's chairman, EU chairman is visiting China, and then they had a very unsuccessful summit with Xi Jinping.
Didn't quite work out the way everybody hoped, huh?
That's correct.
Okay, and then I have a story about how the CCP is preventing a Wells Fargo executive from exiting the country. Got in, can't get out. That's the way of it. And you have a story?
Yes, it's a damning report that says China actually controls over 80% of battery materials crucial to U.S. defense equipment, unsettling report reviews. So it's a damning report, but at least we come to realize that now instead of later.
Waking up, as it were, correct? Okay,
Yep.
And my final story for the first hour, I have cleaning out the urban poor. So the CCP has a very interesting approach to urban renewal, and we'll talk about that as well. So before we go anywhere, however, President Trump announced at a July 22nd press briefing that he plans to visit China very soon, or in the near future. So, Nan Su, that kind of sends shivers up my spine, because what we've talked about in the past about what very soon or in the near future could mean, September 3rd.
And September 3rd, Xi Jinping is going to view the Chinese military parade on Tiananmen Square. And then the rumors been going around that Xi Jinping tried to invite Trump to go there to view the marching together with him, while at the same time we already know that Putin is going. So hopefully our president is not going to go there to stand side by side with Xi Jinping and Putin. Hopefully they will arrange another different venue in a different place, in a different country.
Different time. Not this, please, President Trump, but I think he's going to do it. You know why? Because I don't think he can resist the attention that the press will give the event. I think he will see this as a chance to stand tall in the world of politics by appearing between Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin. I don't think he can resist.
Well, one thing you have to remember, if Trump goes, there's many other country leaders going to go.
Right.
See that the problem is many small countries such as South Korea and other small countries, they're under pressure from Beijing, want them to go. They're watching the United States as a leader, So if Trump decides to go, I don't think it will do any good. I hope he's not going. I remember 2008. I literally standing on the street trying to get people's signature to ask George W. Bush not to go to Beijing's 2008 Olympic, and I in fact a stack of. Signatures I collected to White House. Looking back, it just proved I was right.
You were right.
Now I'm hoping, I'm hoping again that we don't make the same mistake.
And you know, the 2008 Olympics was kind of the CCP's coming out party. As a matter of fact, I think Xi Jinping himself was responsible for that Olympic spectacle. He was the person in charge of it, I believe. And then it was such a huge success, led to his probably promotion to chairmanship.
Well, well, I don't remember was in charge, but basically, that was the year. That was the year we had. We also have China's human rights a torch relay from Athens. The same day that Beijing Olympic started the Olympic torch relay all around the world from Athens. We start the same day from Athens. Although the Athens, the police authority in Athens, they
You're
did
talking about
something
Athens, I think, right?
yeah, they tried to block us, but wasn't successful. So we started the same day. We landed in more than 140 cities around the world, and San Jose was the very first touchdown to the ground in North America. And you remember San Jose Mayor Chuck Lee,
Right.
who came to our event. To support human rights torch relay for China's human rights. Well, it didn't do much. This kind of effort, it it's a small voice. It's a very small voice, but comparing with tons, billions of money floating from the Western world to China. Uh, I'm sorry. I'm just saying. I'm truly
You're not
sorry
for
to
this
say
event.
that.
And you know what the CCP is very good at is public relations marketing. And the 2008 Olympics provided them with the incredible opportunity to show the world that they were now a major force in the world. And what we fear, Nan Su and I at least, that we've talked about for quite some time now, since we learned of Trump's desire to go to China, was that he would show up at the September 3rd military parade and give China an incredible public relations coup by standing on the dais with Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin. And I don't think he will be able to resist that opportunity, Nan Su, because one of Trump's weaknesses that I believe he has is a Bull Halsey syndrome. Who was Bull Halsey? Bull Halsey was a four-star admiral in World War II. And when the United States was contending for Guadalcanal, we were getting our butts whipped by the Japanese in a big way. And the morale of the fleet was in the gutter. So Chester Nimitz hired Bull Halsey to go down there and get on the offense. And he did. And his arrival in the theater in Guadalcanal changed the whole morale of the Pacific Fleet. We started kicking butt on the Japanese and continued to do so all the way through the war. Now, the Japanese recognized Bull Halsey is a charge in and fight kind of guy. So in the Second Battle of the Philippine Sea, which was the island of the Philippines, the Japanese came up with a plan to lure Bull Halsey away to chase its empty aircraft carriers that were coming down from Japan. And everybody knew that Bull Halsey couldn't resist the temptation of these aircraft carriers. So the Japanese planned to have its big gun battleships sneak through the Philippine Islands. And then when Bull Halsey chased after the aircraft carriers, they would rush in and sink the Americans' invasion fleet. Now, I think Donald Trump has some of that Bull Halsey-ness in him. And I think he will take the bait to that Xi Jinping is offering to come to Beijing and put on a show. But I think that the CCP will use that photo opportunity to tell the world that the CCP is being accepted by Donald Trump.
This is a lot for the Americans to pay. I don't want to see that happen. I just don't want to see that happen. I hope someone can change that.
If someone out there can change Donald Trump's mind about going to Beijing and putting on a show for the world, because the Chinese will use it, the CCP will use it, and that will be a sad story for Donald Trump and the world. That's what, at least that's what we've been talking about for quite some time.
Yeah, it won't be good for U.S. economy and in the economy of the entire Western world.
Yeah. Well, following up on that, there was a great op-ed in Epoch Times by Tammuz Itai on July 19th titled "Broken by Design: Why the CCP Always Breaks Its Deals." And the CCP has developed a repeatable model for international negotiations. You sign an agreement under pressure. You violate them once the opposition turns its back. Then you deny any wrongdoing, wasn't me, and then you blame the other party. This cycle has played out across multiple domains, including trade, diplomacy, technology, academia, and security. Consider China's entry into the World Trade Organization in 2001. Western leaders saw it as a milestone for reform. That's when, of course, we were at the peak of our panda love for China. It was when we allowed them into the World Trade Organization. So we thought it was going to be a great deal. But in return for the market access, China promised to end industrial subsidies of their state-owned enterprises, open up sectors to competition, and follow transparent trade practices. Instead, the CCP fortified its command economy, state-owned enterprises continued to enjoy subsidies, tariff barriers were replaced with bureaucratic obstacles, and in sectors such as rare earth minerals, Beijing strategically restricted exports while demanding foreign companies localize production and surrender technology. So when China faced its first WTO challenge over the same rare earth restrictions, it lost the challenge, but it also learned. Breaking the rules has a long grace period and very little cost. And then fast forward to 2020, amid escalating trade tensions, Trump's first administration signed the so-called Phase 1 agreement with China, in which the deal required Beijing to dramatically increase its imports of U.S. goods, protect intellectual property, and curb forced technology transfers. So, same old pattern. China failed to meet its purchase commitments by more than $200 billion. Industrial espionage continued. U.S. firms still found themselves coerced into partnerships that gave their Chinese counterparts an inside look at proprietary technology. Beijing's official line remained unchanged. Everything is fine, and any issues are the fault of Washington. And now we're right back in the same old routine here. We're enforcing these demands on China because we have some leverage with respect to our tariffs now. And China is going to do what, Nan Su?
Well, China is inviting Donald J. Trump to go to see the military parade in Beijing.
So China is going to bend to Trump's will. And as soon as he turns his back, they're going to do what they always do, which is cheat. And when they're called on the cheating, they're going to say, no, we're not doing anything wrong. It's your fault. As they have done, I guess one of the great examples of that is fentanyl. How many times have they agreed to stop the flow of fentanyl? And just recently, Xi Jinping told Donald Trump, by golly, if we catch somebody distributing fentanyl here, we're going to sentence them to death. But that's what he says, but it never happens. So how do you deal with somebody or some organization that always breaks its promises?
Well, again and again, I say it many times, Americans do not realize we're not in a competition. We are in a war. I mean, China's goal is to win the war. Not, every battle, but win the war. But we are, in the war, but we're thinking a competition. We're always think about rules. The rule, when you think your mentality is a competition, you think about rules, agreements, and reciprocal and everything like that. It's everything, taking place so far. It's just because we are thinking we are in the competition. So if we are not thinking we are in the competition, we change our mentality thinking we are in the war with the CCP, then I think everything comes crystal clear what we should do and what we shouldn't do.
So we have to change our thinking.
Well, that's our mentality. That's the problem. That's what get that keep losing. For 25 years, a quarter century already, and we are still thinking in the same way. I don't know. I don't think we actually go anywhere if we keep that thinking pattern.
Well, what was it Einstein said about making the same mistakes time after time after time?
See, we won the Cold War. At least we realize that's a war. Although it's a Cold War, but it's still a war. But now we are still talking about a competition. We don't even recognize that we're in some sort of a war with the CCP.
And it's an existential war, in my estimation. It's not a commercial war because they're not interested in who can sell hamburgers for the cheapest price. They're interested in who can dominate the international marketplace and do away with their competition.
Yeah, same thing, right? That's why Jason Huang went to China, right? And this is like he's still thinking about competition. He's repeating the pattern of Yahoo and Google and Tesla and Microsoft. They all went there before. Look at what they end up with, and so.
Yeah. So it's frustrating.
If Americans do not change their mentality, we're going to pay it higher and higher price every step we're moving forward.
Do you feel like the voice crying out in the wilderness?
Well, it is true. I mean, I've been doing, trying to raise this warning, for 7 years, and then it seems like we're not going anywhere. Americans just thinking about the tiny money that we try to make out of China, and we don't see the future, how much life we're going to lose.
Well, maybe, just maybe, we'll wake up. But I don't know. Hearing hearing of Trump's intentions to go to China in the very near future, which means to me September 3, because that's when all of the cameras in the world will be focused on Beijing for the military parade. And I don't think Trump can avoid that. And if not, then perhaps there's no convincing him that it's not a commercial agreement that we're trying to get from China, because it's not going to happen. It just can't happen. It does not happen. It has not happened every time we've dealt with China. And why on
See,
earth?
for China, what? As long if they can get Donald Trump to go to the Tiananmen Square to stand next to Xi Jinping to view the Chinese militaries marching, they will promise anything you want them to promise. They will sign the wherever the tariffs agreement Donald Trump want, but they're not. They will. All they're going to do later is just they're going to find a way to go around and to basically then they're never going to keep their promise. That's the way it is.
We've seen this with Trump's treatment of Vladimir Putin too. For some reason, Trump seems to think he can talk Vladimir Putin into being a good boy, but he can't. He hasn't been able to. So Trump tells him to stop bombing, and what does Vladimir Putin do? Bombs. And so Trump seems to have this idea that he can make a deal. But I think you're right. I think they're not interested in deals.
See, Donald Trump, he's too much just looking at the tariffs. He need to think about the strategy of real winning strategy. China's economic model already totally collapsed. They are in the mode of collapsing. You know, so now the now let me summarize in two different ways. What's the secret of the economic success of China in the past 45 years? There's only two things they have done. This is, regardless of how the communist regime tried to sugarcoating their success, everything they have done, just only two things they have done. Number one, they take the land from the farmers.
From the
Okay,
people. Yeah.
yeah, from the farmers. They take the land from the farmers and send the farmers, urbanize the farmland, and then all these poor farmers become the cheap labor for the export. That's it. That's every. So that they take the land from the farmers, they do real estate, the construction, real estate, and at the same time, all these farmers, they go to the city, they become the cheap labor, they go to the export industry. That's every little bit of success. That's the secret. Behind every bit of success of the China's economic growth. And now this total model is collapsing. Number one, the real estate it's a total bubble burst. And then number two, the Western world now are not buying their exports. So their model is total collapse. So all we need is just add it up a little bit. All Donald J. Trump need to do is to, keep his 145% of tariffs, forget about the forget about the Wall Street, whatever. Let them cry, and then stop China from being able to take the technology from us. We may have some hard time for a while, um, but China is going to go to a total collapse, and Donald Trump is going to go down to the history as the greatest president in the history. But he I don't know if he goes to, but he chooses a different way. He goes to China on September 3rd. Boy, the future, I don't know.
Okay, a big event coming up. Will Donald Trump go stand with Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin and admire all of China's military might? And what kind of image would that project to the world? Wow, tough one. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Nan Su is going to present a great story about China's summit with Europe. What happened? Let's see. Do stay tuned. We will be right back.
The Scotts Valley Chamber of Commerce presents the 25th annual Scotts Valley Art, Wine, and Beer Festival, August 16th and 17th at Sky Park in Scotts Valley. 2 days of fun for the whole family with food, fine art, a kids' fun zone, and live music, including the Joint Chiefs and the Lost Boys featuring James Durbin. Join us Saturday for the Cops and Rodders Car Show with over 100 vintage cars on display. And don't miss Dog Day Sunday with contests for all canines. All this and free admission to the Scotts Valley Art, Wine, and Beer Festival. See you there.
We've all heard the story of the three little pigs. I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down. Hi, folks. Warren Knox here of Knox Roofing. Yes, your home can definitely be built weak, or it's time to repair or remodel. Well, here at Knox Roofing, we can surely help you with getting that roof of yours prepared for the big bad wolf or Mother's Nature's anger. Whether it be fire, high winds, hail, snow, or maybe just a doggone wet winter ahead of us, call Knox Roofing. We're here for you. Here at Knox Roofing, we have every type of roof out there for you. Skylights, gutters, insulation, solar can be added to save energy as well. Financing is always available, and our guarantees and workmanship cannot be beat. Summer is here, so give us a call or stop by our showroom in Scotts Valley. The number to call is 461-0634. That's 461-0634 anytime. Okay, thanks, folks.
Get hooked up with affordable cannabis at your locally owned Hook Outlet, where everybody above the age of 21 can participate in the Hook's loyalty program. Each purchase earns you 2% store credit on your next purchase. Get hooked up with the best cannabis at affordable prices at the Hook Outlet in Capitola and Watsonville, or order online at hookoutlet.com. Get hooked up at the Hook.
我们为的来的，我们是中国现在, which is China now. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Friend or foe, war or peace? Wow. I wonder what the Europeans think about this competition with China. Nan Su, understand they had a little summit. What happened?
Well, the story was, originally, it's sad. It's kind of like the same story we just talked about. Maybe Trump is going to Beijing. Originally, EU leaders tried to invite Xi Jinping to go to EU to have a EU-China summit, and China answered that Xi Jinping doesn't have any travel plan. So then Van der Leyen, the chairman of EU, led a group, just had a summit with Xi Jinping in Beijing and didn't accomplish anything. And of course, they're not going to be able to accomplish everything or anything because number one, China is still supporting that's pretty much the sole supporter of Russian invasion of Ukraine. And the EU, the European countries look at Russia as the biggest threat of their land. And China is behind Russia, And at the same time, China is, dumping all these electrical cars and everything. Now they have more tariffs from the United States, so that make them to even drop price further down to dump all these products to Australia, to EU, to every country. Uh, uh, so. Um, the two sides didn't really reach much. That's why it is.
Because there's no real place for them to meet. China needs to get rid of its surplus production from its state-owned enterprises. It's heavily subsidized state-owned enterprises. It's got a zillion electric vehicles to get rid of. America won't buy them. We put a huge tariff on them. Can't sell them here. Can sell them in Mexico, I think, Canada, and Europe. And so they've been taking giant shiploads of these cars and dumping them on the ports. Here, take these. And probably selling them very, very cheaply. But if you're an employee of BMW or Volkswagen in Germany, for example, and you see all of these very, very cheap EVs come pouring into the port, what are you going to do? That's your job. How can you compete with that? Nobody can compete with China in the manufacturing of goods because the government subsidizes the manufacturing. And so the manufacturer can sell for less than it costs to make it and still make money because the government pays them. So what can Europe do? What were they even thinking about negotiating? There must have had some idea about what we could negotiate. But they didn't, did they?
Well, we don't know. It just this is really bad. This is really bad. I think that EU changing the China policy quickly. They used to be, they used to fall 3 to 5 years behind. Now they're quickly catching up. They realize, they need to change their China policy. See, Trump started changing the U.S. Government's China policy back in the beginning of 2018 when he started the trade war with China. In January of 2018, he added, I think how he started was 25% of all the solar panels from China. Now, things has changed dramatically, in the past 8 or 9 years. But however, I think we need to continue along that path. Reciprocal, it's not enough now. If we always as more and more evidence exposed that what China CCP has been done all around the world, we see a real threat. A war is imminent in the Western Pacific. So something just reciprocal, it's not enough for us to win this war.
And we've been talking for years now, 4 years now, 246 shows about the fact that we've been at war with China for 30 years. And we just didn't know it because we were so infatuated with the possibility of our relationship with China. We call it China's panda love. We were so in love with the infatuation with these pandas and with China that we just didn't pay attention to what China was up to. We thought we were going to make them us, and they have no intention at all of becoming us. They want to supplant us, and we never even considered that. But that's where they're at. So what's it like to deal with China or the CCP? Well, Wells Fargo bank executive who was doing business in China was recently blocked from leaving China and is now under criminal investigation. China's foreign ministry announced Monday, offering no further details about the charges she faces or the expected duration of her exit ban. Her name is Mao Zhenyu, and she was born in Shanghai but works in Atlanta as a managing director at Wells Fargo Bank. Wells Fargo said it was working through the appropriate channels to secure her return to the United States. It was not immediately clear whether Mao had an American passport or if she remained a Chinese citizen. And this is a report out of Reuters. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said Mrs. Mao Zhenyu is involved in a criminal case currently handled by Chinese law enforcement authorities, and foreigners alike, Chinese and foreigners alike, have to abide by Chinese laws. China will protect her lawful rights and interests throughout the investigation. Wouldn't you like to have the CCP watching out for your lawful rights and interests if you're under investigation by them? Exit bans in China generally require a lower threshold from authorities than indictments and formal detentions, and the country's sweeping national security law has allowed for individuals to face travel bans for actions that would be considered legal in other countries. So, Nan Su, what exactly is China's national security law? And that, of course, defines what is legal and what is not. But what is the national security law?
Well, it's like in the law of wartime. You know, you just think about what the U.S. government is going to do during the wartime. That's what the national security law of China is doing.
Right now.
They are in war with us.
And
we're thinking of competition. That's it. Yeah. That's the problem.
You know, I just recently read about a Chinese employee of an American military manufacturer, high-tech materials and programs designed to, spot satellites and all kinds of things like that. He was working at this very, very sensitive position. And previously to coming to the United States, he had volunteered for the CCP's 1,000 Talents program. Do you remember the 1,000 Talents program?
Yep.
Would you define that for the audience, please?
Well, it's just the CCP using this academic exchange program. They come to United States, and then they will. What they're doing? It's they say they're going to. I think they ended up have like more than 7,000 scholars that joining the program. So not just the 1,000, but at the beginning they call it 1,000 talent plan. Right. What they do is they promise all the famous successful researchers in the United States, like professors. Those people, they will promise them, say, you don't have to work full-time in China. Actually, they encourage you, the plan, if you sign it up to the plan, they encourage you work half-time in the United States, half-time in China. So what they do is they will encourage you to set up the same kind of a research facility in China, this very same, whatever the equipment that you use in the United States, China will buy the same equipment in China. So, and whatever the research you're doing in the United States, China will have you do the same research in China. So basically, that way they pay for the equipment. Then they promise you they will hire a bunch of systems to help you to do the research. All these scholars need to do is just repeat their research wherever they're doing in the lab in the United States, then copy that to China, into the lab in China. So that's how this is basically the bottom line of the so-called Southern Talent Plan.
Nan Su, it reminds me of the analogy of the ant and the aphid I brought up once previously, I believe. And ants farm aphids. And what they do is they pick up aphids and they place them on plants. And the aphid sucks the juice out of the plant and feeds the ant. And it seems like this is exactly the plan of the CCP, to use scientists and plant them in institutions here in the United States and have those scientists suck the juice out of America's technology and give it to China. And it's just as simple as that. They've been very successful about it. The person who was employed by this high-tech company, and the company wasn't even named, but the description of the technology was super high-tech. So he went to work for this company, and within a month or so, just started downloading all of its intellectual property on a thumb drive and spiriting it away to the Chinese Communist Party. So it just seems like we haven't figured out what's going on yet. You're absolutely right. They're fighting a war, and we're doing commerce, and that's the bad part of it. So who knows what's going to happen to Mao Zedong, who is the employee for the Wells Fargo Bank in Atlanta, working in Shanghai. And no, she was from Shanghai. She was working in Atlanta, went home, visited somebody, and got arrested for a criminal enterprise of some kind or another. Now we have the battery story, which is really a sad story again, but it's something that we have to know is going on. Nan Su, China controls over 80% of battery materials crucial to
Yes, through its Belt and Roads project initiative, China has, this is a Fox News report, China has leveraged the influence to resource-rich developing nations, all the third world countries, securing control over massive critical mineral deposits. So today it possesses approximately 65% of entire world's lithium, 85% of the graphite, 70% of cathodes, and 85% of anodes, and staggering 97% of anode active materials. So that's basically how much they control all these. See, the problem is, here Americans were thinking budgets, but everything has a budget. And, we do this, we do that, we give other countries to do this, to do that, all these ideological things. But China, it's going around the world to control the resources. That's the difference. Now, which just make our plan a joke, because we're not even able to make our military supply sustainable. Anything else is just a joke.
Without the rare earths, we're in deep trouble. And when it gets right down to it, the Chinese have been planning this for a long, long time. And they've been using the Belt and Road Initiative, which is very interesting. What they do is they go into a country that has a lot of these deposits, and they visit the presidential palace, and with a suitcase full of cash, they give the money to the president, and the president agrees to borrow money from the CCP to build a new airport or a new convention center or new whatever. And the CCP comes in, they builds that infrastructure development, and the country can't afford to pay back the CCP, so the CCP just takes the rare earths as payment. Something like that. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm already speechless. I don't know what to say.
Okay. We got Nan Su speechless. All right. Well, and that's the ball game. That's war. That is war. That's not commerce. That's war. And they are fighting it, and we have not been. So, how are things going in Beijing? There's a story in here, a news story by Alex Wu in Epoch Times. The CCP held a rare Central Urban Work Conference, the fifth since 1962, aimed at cleaning up, or urban renewal, they say, maintaining its political stability in Chinese cities, as well as stimulating their depressed real estate market. Nan Su, you were talking about all the farmers that came to the cities to work in the factories. And what happened when they closed down the factories, you have a lot of unemployed former farmers hanging around the streets, building shanties and whatnot.
Well, they really have no way to go.
Nowhere to go.
Yeah, they can't go back to the countryside anymore because after they left, their land being taken. They're not, their hometown not welcome them to go back, and then and they are next, and there's their children. It's been like 30, 40 years. They have their children grew up in the cities. The children doesn't want to go back to the farmland because they don't know how to do all these agricultural work anymore. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen.
Well, they've already gone through one of these urban renewal programs in 1962. No, this is the fifth time since 1962. And what they do is they go in and destroy, 62, 63, 78, and 2015, according to state meetings. So what they do is they launch urban renewal campaigns, and with a focus on pushing forward urban renewal and the renovation of urban villages and dilapidated houses. So they have, the government goes in and forces the deconstruction of these urban villages, and all of the costs are borne by the local authority. So it's a real...
Yeah, they are, well, central government, I think the end of last year, they come out with some sort of a plan. So the central government will allocate some funds to the local government too, to help the local government to... It's a part of the stimulation plan. What Beijing's doing, some sort of a stimulation plan to help their economy, help their sinking economy, but not a lot of money because they
not enough money, right?
Because the real estate, the whole industry is sinking, right? Nobody is buying, right? So it's not just a good time to go there to do these projects. They still have a tremendous number of housing units being built, but not even be able to sell. To get them, get people buying them.
So previously, they would go in and take these slums and level them, and build new homes.
That's right.
New ghost cities, I guess they were. So
yeah.
So where do the urban workers go who can't afford to buy a house? What happens to the people? Or they can't go back home. There's no place in the city.
You go to Shenzhen. There was a recent report about Shenzhen. Shenzhen is the city right next to Hong Kong, right?
Right.
That's every policy, every economic reform policy in the past close to 50 years of time, 47 years since December of 1978. That's how That's when CCP make the decision, and they're going to do the economic reform. Now, in the past 47 years, every economic reform policy, Shenzhen has been the testing ground. So now Shenzhen now has the recent report showing Shenzhen have tremendous economic issues. There's a lot of people, they don't have a place to go. They don't have the place to live. So at night, the reports I saw, the recent report says every night, when it turned darkness, the people quietly come into those big empty space. They just lay down, they sleep on the street basically. During the daytime they have to go because they know the police will go after them if they stay. So, and plus they have to work. Those are the people from the countryside. They lost their land. They've been working in that city for very long, and so now they work for very very cheap, hourly pay kind of a job, and they're not afford to pay any housing unit. So that's what's end up with.
Nowhere to go. Shenzhen was Deng Xiaoping's great experiment in modern manufacturing, wasn't it? It was like let's set up a place in this little village and let people do with it what they might to make things. Let's see what we can do. And it exploded. It just grew wildly with manufacturing and whatnot. And so people came from all over China to work in Shenzhen. And when the manufacturing ceased almost suddenly by virtue of Trump's tariffs and everybody else's, all other countries' tariffs on China, and the manufacturing moved to other places like Vietnam, leaving Shenzhen a shell of itself. And so the people who came to build Shenzhen are now living in its empty factories. There's nowhere to go. So the interesting thing about central planning is that it always works until it doesn't work. And once it quits working, then everybody's in big trouble. So ladies and gentlemen, that was the first hour. When we come back, we're going to take on the mandate of heaven. And what do you think? Has the mandate of heaven been withdrawn? And what does that mean if it has? So I'll bet we'll have a really fun conversation looking back in history, talking geography, talking weather, talking the CCP, and all of it. So please do stay tuned. We will be right back after this top of the hour break. This is China Now. 再见。